At this time, Mr. Worley, maintenance update.
Thank you, Ward. To give you an update, we're on maintenance. I'll start off with the new school. We did have the contract for pre-construction with Bordeaux completed, and we're waiting for that to come back from the attorney to sign it for our pre-construction costs. As far as the new school, we have gotten all surveyed. We're kind of wrapping everything up to have a complete set of plans. Our intention is to have that September the 1st, and we should have a guaranteed maximum price by the next board meeting, so we know where we're at on pricing. But everything's going really well. We're actually a little bit ahead of schedule right now, so that's a good thing to do. So I was asked at the last board meeting to look at the tracks, and I also looked at tennis courts to rubberize the tracks, and that's basically what we're talking about. You're looking at approximate cost of $150,000 per school. That has a 10-year life on it. So we probably need to make sure we escrow enough that in 10 years that's ready. If we went back and resurfaced those tracks, I don't think that would qualify for a regional track, maybe be around $90,000. Looking at the tennis courts, West Bladen High School, we continue to have issues there in the low-lying area, and that is going to be somewhere around $250,000 to move those and replace those. And then East Bladen has also got not a serious problem, but having some issues. It's going to be about $100,000 to repair those on the tracks and tennis courts. And I'll stop there if y'all got any questions, because
Have you went and looked at the middle school to see
the middle school
how much we would have to put in it to have like one facility in the county?
The middle school is not as wide as the two high schools, the tracks, which is going to create somewhat of a problem, because that track's going to have to be widened. But I don't know that that's going to be a good solution. The work as we widen the track, then when the only place we can widen it to is to the inside of the football field, and that's going to be less on the sidelines.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can we get it done?
We got to get in a budget somehow, and that's the big thing. I know that I met with Dr. Atkinson and Ms. Harrison this week about needs of the sports facilities, middle and high school, and we went through some of those. So I think this is more of an issue of getting it into a budget that we can figure out how we're going to pay for it and move forward. If we don't have anything else.
Okay. You said it cost $250,000 to move the tennis courts at West Bladen. Where in the world would you move?
We'd move them to the right side near the water tank. That'd be the highest place to put it, and then that would also give us parking and restrooms as well. We'd have to actually move them all the way across campus. It's highly recommended that tennis courts put on a concrete surface instead of asphalt surface. Unfortunately, we have asphalt surfaces under both our schools. But the other issue that's creating a problem with them is there was never a rock base put on them. There was asphalt was put on sand, and that's making them shift a lot and move, and it's creating a lot of our issues. And we put $100,000 into them 3 years ago, and we're right back to where we were before that. So
I know we just paid the debt off to the schools, and we won't receive any of that money until next year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So the tracks, could that be something that we look at using some of that money to?
I actually think that's what we need to look at next year. We did meet with Dr. Axon and Ms. Harrison. We did work in this year so we could put some outdoor storage buildings on both high schools so we could store track equipment inside, and some of the baseball and football equipment we're having a problem weathering and that type thing. So we're going to be able to do that this year.
My last question goes back to East Bladen and their tennis court. If we move west, would it be feasible to move East Bladen to where we won't keep having the same I think it's a root issue at East Bladen, isn't it? Is that what it is?
East Blaine, so we got asphalt moving, so what we got there. We really don't have the water issue that we have at West. It's kind of two different things. So my suggestion at East Blaine is go back in and cover them and put concrete, which probably should have been there to begin with. And that would solve a lot of problems. Concrete's a lot easier to repair. It holds paint better. There's several different advantages to that.
What's under that over East Bladen?
Sorry,
What's the underlayment of that over at East Bladen?
It's on sand as well, but it's on a lot higher. West Blaine is actually tennis courts on the lowest part of the whole campus. I mean, it's the lowest.
Well, if you put cement on top of that asphalt on top of sand, where we can stand?
Well, the concrete's gonna have enough structure with it. We'll end up putting some reinforcing mesh and rebar in it.
Okay.
That I feel like we're gonna be okay. I talked to an engineer about it. He feels that probably is the only fix. I mean, we could take the asphalt, but East Bladen has an issue with no rock, but it's higher. West Bladen has a problem. It's low with no rock and the water's coming through it, and it's where all the water settles.
And there's no way to dig any drainage to help with that.
I've met with the engineer and we've looked at it. We would need to raise West Bladen up 3 feet and put a piping system under it. Because we went through and cleaned the ditch out in front of West Bladen, which helped tremendously, but the drainage pipe for West Bladen High School actually runs under the tennis courts, which is probably not a good idea in hindsight. So, but it's one of those things that's, I think if we fix it, we need to fix it. But, I got a few more things. We did talk about replacing the bleachers at the middle schools, and we had one issue. We said $130,000. The company who bid it, Wallen bid us as tax exempt. We're not tax exempt. We pay taxes and we get taxes back, and that was an additional $6,400. And then the price of the bleachers have gone up another $5,600. So our price at this point in time has gone from $130,000 to $142,000 for that project.
This is at the middle school, right?
Yes, sir. That's it. Elizabethtown Middle.
What will we do though?
We got to tear them down. They've been,
Got no idea.
yeah, they've been condemned.
Say if we got old equipment and how do we get rid of it? I mean, as far as selling it, what's the procedure for that? I mean,
It depends on if it's vehicles. We actually advertise those and sell those. If it's usually cafeteria equipment or anything else, we use a company called Gov Deals, which is for government sales, and we actually put those on, which is an auction system, auction that people will actually bid on.
So vehicles are different.
Vehicles are a lot harder to sell on Gov Deals because of the amount of questions and that type of thing. It's better to do a sealed bid on vehicles. And a lot of more local people are interested in the vehicles.
So how would I know about it? How would I know,
We have to advertise them. We haven't sold any vehicles in I don't know how long, so. I think we're getting ready to sell some, but that's how it would be better to do it, in my opinion. The last thing, we've got the ESSER funds, and we've got a lot of projects out there, but we're going to start this week doing some testing on cleaning devices and cleaning air in school systems, and which systems are going to work better in the bigger systems like the high schools, and which are going to work better in different. The smaller schools will probably be classroom. We're actually starting to do some testing on that to figure out which is the best systems for all the schools, and our intentions are to do those in all the schools. Are there any questions or? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Worley.